now. Welcome to Parenting Village's Collaborative Chats series. Parenting Village is a program of Jewish Family Services and a nonprofit organization serving caregivers adjusting to parenthood through peer support. I'm Parenting Village board member Kara Juszczak, and our chat series is a result of unfortunately having to cancel our largest annual event this year. And so in an effort to preserve the educational and fundraising part of our Family Fest, we'll first chat, and then you'll hear about some ways you can help Parenting Village. I'm here with Jennifer Phillips, board certified music therapist, certified early childhood music educator, and the director of Expressive Arts at the Hochstein School. Our topic today is the power of music. Welcome, Jennifer. That's quite the list of credentials there, but certainly tells me that you are the expert that we want on board today to talk about really the power of music and how we might use music as parents to support our kids during this time, and how we can understand really what does music do for our brains, for our bodies. So so glad to have you here. And so let's start with, what does music teach our young children?
Thank you so much, Kara. I just want to say, too, that I am just honored to be here and to be a part of this series. All of my earliest memories are of music. My mom would sing along to Whitney Houston and my dad playing classical piano. So music has really been a part of my entire life. So I'm really glad to be here with you today. There are really so many aspects of music. It's really complex yet predictably structured, and actively experiencing music is a whole brain activity. This is particularly evident when we look at music with children. I mean, their brains are developing so rapidly, and we see how music affects the different systems, auditory and cognitive, motor, language, etc., as they grow. If you think about how babies, even really young babies, engage with music, you can really see the music-brain connection firsthand. Many babies who aren't even yet walking or talking will dance to the beat or vocalize with a preferred song, even if they're not even yet speaking or singing the words. So a baby's auditory cortex, and that's where their hearing is developed, it's developed enough to hear sounds by 20 weeks gestation. So a baby is surrounded by music and voices and sounds before they're even born. There was actually a recent study that showed that babies were quicker to calm when they were sung a lullaby that they had been repeatedly exposed to while still in utero. So the music-brain connection is strong even before we're born. So now that we've kind of established the innate connection to music, let's look a little bit more at how and what music can teach to young children. So experiencing music, especially in regards to active engagement, and by that I mean music making, singing, dancing, playing instruments, movement, is a whole brain experience and sometimes a whole body experience. So we know that babies and young children go through typical stages of development, and they move through them at their own pace, but they all experience those stages. So exposure to active music listening and music making can be a really great reinforcement of those skills that they're already acquiring just as they're growing. So if you take, for example, like a 9 or 10-month-old baby who's just starting to make, say, like purposeful motor movements, so that's anything with the body awareness and all of that. Maybe they're crawling or cruising along furniture, starting to use their hands bilaterally, meaning they're putting both hands in conjunction with each other to pick up a toy or reach a goal. But if they're exposed to the song, say if you're happy and you know it, and one of the directives is to clap their hands, and they're able to see a model actually doing that, a parent following the motions or whatever, just that small gesture of them being able to clap along with it is a huge reinforcement of the skills that they're already working on, all the bilateral hand coordination that they need to do all of those things that they would normally be doing throughout their day. So as babies progress and become toddlers and they're learning to walk, dancing and movement is super important. And when children dance, their bodies tend to naturally kind of regulate to a steady beat. Not only children, works for everybody. So a quick aside here, as I was walking down the aisle at my wedding, I couldn't not walk to the beat. So it was just one of those things that is like so entrained, and then you're like, yeah, it was crazy. But a lot of us, we have that really strong rhythmic connection. So the skill is reinforced for younger kids, especially, when a model, be it a parent or music teacher, puts a particular emphasis on said steady beat. So for in a movement song, if there's multiple styles or tempo or beats, that can be addressed. So my own daughter was a late walker. She was not really a confident walker until she was about 16 months old. And the very first time that she actually walked, she was in her toddler music class and following her teacher around a circle to a really slow tempoed march. So for any of you who have heard a march before, it has a really definitive beat. And so there was a really strong emphasis every time her foot would strike the ground. So she was like more than halfway around the circle before she realized I wasn't holding her anymore. And she had just walked the entire way by herself. So, if we're talking about music and beat, really having that strong beat and strong rhythm and that kind of walking pattern really kind of reinforces those walking skills that children would have anyway, as opposed to something that's more slow or dancey or waltz-like. Not great for, I guess for walking beat, but definitely still really great for body awareness. So steady beat can help with coordination, with walking, with motor planning, and dancing and movement to music in general can really help a child with their spatial awareness, like I was just talking about. So how their body moves in space. If you watch toddlers or young children play, you'll see sometimes they run into objects or run into each other, and then it's like dominoes. And well, some of it is the underdeveloped coordination as compared to older children. A lot of it is still that they're just still needing to gain those spatial awareness skills. So having that movement in space is really great. And even if it's unstructured, if you're just listening to music and your child is dancing along, that right there is just increasing that body awareness. So as children grow, all of their musical skills, all the ones that are present from infancy, support their continued learning. So the patterns that we see in the rhythmic prosody we hear in many of the children's songs that we know in children's chants will help to develop a pattern recognition that's integral to pre-reading and early literacy skills. And you can see the patterns in music in general, but rarely more present than in nursery rhymes and songs. So if you think about the patterns, there's a strong emphasis on rhyming, and it can help children develop their speech by creating a scenario that's really structured and predictable. So if you say, even if you're just speaking rhythmically, if you do like hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. So that that's exactly what's going to come next. Everything fits in that nice little window. Same things with songs like Old MacDonald, where you have a definitive and repetitive pattern. You know that every time you hear E-I, you have to say, oh. And I also like that one because it addresses, cognitive recall by matching animals with their sounds. So another thing that's important to note is that learning music, and particularly learning to play a musical instrument as children grow, can teach them a lot about perseverance and resilience, dedication, commitment, pride, self-esteem, and expression, all of those things that are so important and so key. And that beauty of hard and rewarding work is so important. So music can really support us through all of the stages of development and all the way into adulthood.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. And, I forget that when I was pregnant, music was a big part of what I was offering. And I don't know that I truly understood the impact that music could have on my growing baby. But both of my kids have grown up to love music. And Jennifer, you know that I'm a vocalist. That is another way that we know each other. And singing has always been an emotional outlet for me. So it helps me, calm down, depending on the kind of music that I might choose. And it also makes me really happy. So how does music support the child's ability to regulate?
Absolutely. I think it's a huge part of supporting a child's emotional regulation. So, we all, children and adults, have different music preferences, and what might be calming or uplifting or energizing for me may not be for you. So, our responses to music can be as unique and as different as our personalities. And that's part of what makes music such an individualized experience. It's not an isolating experience by any means, but it's an individualized experience because we all experience this music differently. So I was thinking too, if you can think of, music that makes you feel more calm or relaxed if you play it. For me personally, much of that is going to be music that does not have lyrics. It has to be instrumental because I'm also a vocalist. And so I find that the presence of music singing lyrics is kind of stimulating rather than calming. But on the flip side, there's music that, could be really energizing for you. I don't care for cleaning all that much. If you do, you can come my way. But I don't really like cleaning. So I have like a couple of upbeat playlists that I put on, like when I know I have to do that most hated task. And it really does just give me like that extra boost to keep going. But I think it's really important for children to learn and to understand how different types of music make them feel. And they can access music just like we adults do and use it in their lives in a way that benefits them. And it's a pretty empowering thing if you think about it. Another thing too about music making is that music of any kind, whether it's structured or unstructured, vocal or instrumental, provides children with that opportunity for expression, which can be supporting in and of itself. Whether it's putting, the boundless creativity and energy to work by playing along to a beat or moving to music, or it's sitting down and just playing, experimenting with the keys or the pedals on the piano, whether they truly know how to play or not. It's serving a purpose for them. And that might look, different for me than it would for you, than it would for somebody else. In fact, everyone in my family, I think we all access music differently, but all in a way that supports us and our emotional health.
Awesome. That's always been a role of music for me, and I love seeing it develop in its own way in my children as well. So a lot of the families that might be watching this are families with young children, and so I would love, you gave us so much great information about what the benefits of music are and some examples of kind of how it shows up naturally, these natural opportunities, but anything specifically that you can help us parents, how can we use music intentionally throughout our day while we're trying to keep things interesting at home, and what kinds of ideas might you give us?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this. So, even though I am a trained musician, therapist, educator, you certainly do not have to be or even consider yourself musically inclined to use music at home. We're our children's best teachers. So we know them the best and we know what works and we know what doesn't. And, I think that since children can engage with music many different ways, that starting introducing that music, whether it just be listening or whatever, in infancy and moving through their entire lives, that will just create that real strong connection. So having music, any music present in your home, especially if you're engaging with it by singing or dancing or clapping, your child is benefiting from all of that. And it doesn't have to be children's music. I realized that my children were never really, other than in their toddler music classes, which were wonderful, they were never really exposed to children's music. We just listened to what we listened to and, experienced it all together. But there was a huge benefit, for them from just those experiences. If you have a younger child, singing, playing, reading nursery rhymes with them is so important. If you don't feel comfortable singing, just speak in rhythm. Talk to a lot of parents who say, I'd like to do this at home, but I don't sing. It's not a problem. Or if you don't feel confident singing, rhythm is such a strong component of music, that even if you speak the words to a song, there's still a benefit to your child's language development, especially if you're speaking in rhythm. If you have maybe a little bit older child, like a toddler or preschooler, introduce those songs with strong rhythm and dance along. You can also play songs that have directions, like if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. So it's telling you something that you need to do within the context of the song. So that's always really good for comprehension too. And just kind of have your kids follow along with that. I always advocate to parents to model first. So if, you know, the song is saying to do something, you're doing it, because a lot of times your child will see that you're not, and they're like, oh, am I supposed to be doing this? So definitely be that model, you know, firsthand for your child, and just have fun with it. I always used music for transition times. So I am also a parent. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. So my son in particular had a tough go of it there for a while, transitioning from one activity to another, or even from like the house to the car. So I would give him, you know, a warning in, you know, before the transition, but then we would sing while we did it. And that would just help with all of the emotional regulation during the time that he normally would have had a meltdown. They were just really very difficult for him. So we would sing through it, and it just worked out very well for him. Another thing is to just make sure that you let your children explore. So maybe that means that Tupperware is drums, and, you know, a wooden spoon is a drumstick, and the bean-filled stuffed animal is a shaker. You know, whatever it is, anything can make music. And if you watch children play and explore, you'll see that anything can be turned into an instrument. So it's really amazing to me as a parent and an educator, just watching that whole process, and children being really creative with what they have around them. Another thing that people don't often think of as being musical, but you know, really is reading rhyming books. Really, any books in particular, reading is so important. But if you find those ones that have that really strong rhythm and really strong rhyme scheme, that's really very, very beneficial. And then if you have older children too, you know, have conversations about them, with them about their musical interests. So what music do they like to listen to? What do they do? You know, what kind of music do they like when they're feeling relaxed or feeling sleepy? What do they like to dance to? Are they interested in learning any instruments? And if so, which ones? So the more that children kind of take that active role in their own musical experiences, the more successful they'll be when it comes to taking lessons or learning an instrument as they get older.
Thank you. You remind me that we have instruments all over our house, and you don't have to purchase anything per se, and you don't have to, you know, we can access so many of these songs and books right on our computers. So so those are some really great ideas and good reminders. You know, being loving music myself, they're still good reminders for me. I love the idea of exploring, to see what kids come up with, because they are pretty creative and they're craving this connection that you described. Do you have any other advice for us as parents on how to keep things kind of interesting as we go into summer, and maybe we don't have access to as many different opportunities as we might have in other years? How can we incorporate music and have, you know, some fun when things might feel boring?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the best thing that I could tell you, for if you have kids of any age, is just find time to play. So whether that's having a dance party, or turning your picnic table into a drum set, or making up silly songs. I have to say, my kids and I just made up a bunch of tongue twisters yesterday, and we were all laughing so hard that we couldn't even get through them. And we just had so much fun with it. And that's the thing, there's so much learning going on when it comes to engaging, you know, with music and rhythm, but to kids, it doesn't feel like learning. So my kids didn't know that these tongue twisters were encouraging creativity or benefiting their language development or targeting speech clarity. They just see the fun. So make time to just have fun.
Awesome advice. And, you know, I think we all need that reminder right now. It's okay to just slow down and have fun and get back to just the basics of connecting and being silly. I love the idea of tongue twisters. That was always a favorite of mine with my dad growing up, and so we still will engage in that sometimes, actually. But yeah, it's fun, and then kids, right, are engaging in the fun of it and may not realize the other benefits that they're getting, but we know as parents. So one more question for you: what if families want some more formal opportunities for either lessons or camps or classes? How can they get in touch with you? What do they need to know about things that might be coming up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So they can get in touch with me directly if they would like to look at the website. It's just www.hochstein.org. If you'd like to email me directly, it's just jennifer.phillips@hochstein.org. But we're offering lots of music education opportunities remotely this summer. So you can absolutely start with traditional lessons remotely. We have camp offerings, all kinds of really unique things. And we are, for those of you who don't know, we are a nonprofit arts organization, and we're located downtown. So most of our summer offerings will be remote. But yeah, you can absolutely contact me. I would love to get you in touch with some of our programs and get you some more information.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And thanks for being part of our series and offering this discussion on a topic that's really close to my heart as well. And I love that we get to share this with the families that may be listening. So just a reminder, everyone, the series is one of many virtual events going on to acknowledge the cancellation, unfortunately, of our 8th annual Family Fest. And this event is where we really connect families with local resources and businesses, as Jennifer described, and in a really playful, kind of social, but also fundraising type of event. So while we've been creative and continuing to support and connect families to our services, we're still in need of funds to keep going. Our Nurture and Circles programming are offered free to participants, allowing them to benefit from peer support whenever they might need it. In order to train and staff those programs, we need your help. Please consider supporting Parenting Village by clicking the donate button on our Facebook page or by visiting our website at parentingvillage.org/donate. This series is part of a larger lemonade stand type campaign with family-friendly events happening throughout July and August. If you keep tabs on our Facebook page, you'll see a picture of lemonade continuing to grow and fill up as we collect donations. So we're excited to watch that happen. Don't miss out on some other opportunities to engage and get some of the benefits of our Family Fest. And thank you again, Jennifer. Thank you everyone for watching, and stay well.